Om Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti. We are currently exploring the scripture Mysticism of Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentaries by our worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayananda Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. We are currently exploring the mystical meaning of the allegory of Puranjana. So let's continue the story of Puranjana and the mystical meaning from a profound viewpoint. Imagine for a moment that household life of Puranjana. He is constantly busy trying to please his wife Puranjani to deal with the problems of family members, etc. With so many children around, there is always something going wrong. That's the predicament of every individual. You are so immersed in your sense perceptions day by day that the way our intellect evaluates them, that we have no time for our own self. We are simply driven by the intellect, by the senses. If at all we try to run away from the chaos, we go into the dream world. When we realize that the dream is not our reality, we come back to the waking state, bowing at the feet of the limited intellect again. Then we go into the deep sleep state, but then we can't stay there all the time either. So we go on living a strange life day by day, constantly revolving through waking, dream, and deep sleep, never finding true peace or satisfaction anywhere. So let's move to Chandavega and Jara invade Puranjani's kingdom. This is the next episode of the same story. As time passed, the king of Gandharvas, Chandavega, took notice of Puranjana's kingdom. Under his control, there were 360 great Gandharvas or heroic soldiers and 360 wives of those Gandharvas. Eager to conquer Puranjana's kingdom and seeing that Puranjana too was busy to even notice, Chandavega and his army began to invade the kingdom. However, the kingdom was guarded by that five-hooded snake who hissed and tried his best to fight against those Gandharvas and their wives. But poor snake, what could he do against such an onslaught? Then the time's spirit daughter Kalakanya or Jara also began invading the country. With her came the Yavanas. Yavanas meaning mental sufferings and bodily ills, and Prajvara, a terrible fever, and Bhaya, fear. With all these invaders causing havoc, the city became completely disorganized in a very short time, and many portions of it were in ruins. The king reflected within himself, "Alas, there is very little time for me left, and the desire for enjoyment has not gone. There are so many things I have yet to do. All the time I have been working for Queen Puranjani, always trying to please her. What about me? I haven't done anything for myself." His mind filled with grief, Puranjana saw before his very eyes the whole city in ruins. Finally, the five-hooded snake said goodbye to the city. King Puranjana could have been saved in that situation if he had remembered his unknown friend and well-wisher, but he did not because of ignorance. Thus, Puranjana died. So let us review the mystical meaning. Chandavega means one who comes with terrible steps, one whose movements cannot be thwarted. That king of the Gandharva symbolizes the restless passage of time. The 360 Gandharvas and 360 Gandharvis symbolize the days and nights in 1 year. Since you were born, the Chandavega and his soldiers have been pursuing you. While Puranjana, the soul within us, spends all his time attending to his big household and all its complications, the king of Gandharva is gradually invading. Every day that passes means you are one day older, one day closer to death. A day doesn't seem like much, rather it seems like just a drop in the bucket. But then the drops go on increasing until they fill a whole lake. Jara represents old age. Together with the Yavanas, mental sufferings and bodily ills, the Pravajra, a terrible fever, And bhaya is fear. She also invades the kingdom of Puranjana. Similarly, every individual soul in a state of bondage must experience old age, disease, fear, insecurity as time passes on. This is also briefly, beautifully explained in the Bhagavad Gita also. In your younger days, the pranas help you resist the invasion of these forces. But when you reach middle age, be careful. Prana does not have the same strength anymore. The Gandharvas have taken a great toll. As long as we have good health and vitality, the five-hooded snakes of our pranas has the energy to repair the body. But as time passes relentlessly, which it must, what can that poor snake do? Soon we develop diseases and our beauty fades away. Like an aging flower, the body withers. Injured and crushed, the five-hooded snake of the pranas leaves the body and the kingdom of Puranjana is destroyed. So let's move to the next episode. Puranjana is reborn as Princess Vidarbhi. After his death, without any city in which to dwell, King Puranjana found himself in a desolate state. However, he was led by his unknown friend into another embodiment. This time he was born as Princess Vidarbhi, the daughter of Vidarbha Raja, the king of Vidarbha. When she reached marriageable age, Vidarbhi was wedded to King Malayadhwaja and gave birth to a daughter and 7 sons. Each of the sons had millions of sons, and the daughter married sage Agatsya and gave birth to a son named Dhridachyuta, who eventually had a son named Idmavaha. Princess Vidarbhi lived happily caring for her family until one day the king, her husband, retired and entered into forest life. Vidarbhi followed him and they both practiced austerity. In course of time the king died and Vidarbhi was sunk in grief. At that time a Brahman appeared and said, "Who are you? For whom are you grieving? Don't you realize I am your friend? You and I were once sporting in the mystic Manas lake as inseparable companions. But you, my friend, decided to get away from me for a while. At that moment, you became King Puranjana. You then searched for a city to rule and fell into delusion. You have now incarnated as the daughter of Vidarbha Raja. In fact, you are nobody's daughter. No one is related to you. All this world you have experienced has been my Maya or cosmic illusion. So don't grieve. You are not this limited personality. I and you have been friends through eternity. All the while I have been with you. I am Ishvara, God. You are Jiva, the individual soul. I and you are one and the same. There is not the slightest difference between us, just as there is no difference between a person and his shadow or his reflection. When the princess heard these teachings, she realized her essential nature and became enlightened. She became one with God. The mystical meaning: King Vidarbha refers to pure mind. His daughter Princess Vidarbhi, who was the incarnation of Puranjana, symbolizes the aspiring soul. So Princess Vidarbhi was married to King Malayadhwaja. Malaya refers to sandal paste fragrance, which symbolically means satsanga or good association. Thus, as the evolution of the jiva unfolds, the aspiring soul is led to satsanga. Vidarbhi and Malayadhwaja had 7 sons and 1 daughter. The daughter is Bhava or divine feeling. The 7 sons refer to the 7 stages of devotion. They are Shravana, listening to the glorious stories of the Lord; Kirtana, singing the praises of God; Smarana, constant remembrance of God; Archana, offering flowers; Vandana, bowing down to God; Pad Sevana, serving the lotus feet of God, and Dasya Bhava, developing the devotional attitude that I am a slave of the Lord. So we will continue the mystical meaning of this allegorical story of Princess Vidarbhi in tomorrow's Satsanga. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.